Good evening. You are listening live to the Xtreme Movie Show. I'm your host, Rob, broadcasting to you as always from the Xtreme Studios in the Pineless Palace, just west of Orlando, Florida, on a 102-degree Fahrenheit day with the Sahara winds coming in. I'm definitely not feeling cold, but tonight's movie, 1991, is stone cold. I've got with me from the Great Midwest, RDV. And RDV, we're going to have to talk about this Lance Henriksen, William Forsythe. Wait a minute. A gentleman named Brian Bosworth is the head of this because during our Father's Day stream, I mentioned this is the time, a significance, if you will, if you had to draw a line in the sand and say this is when 80s movies changed, action-wise, it was Commando. This movie, Stone Cold 1991, is when it died. And I'm going to go into that a little bit as we talk themes here on the Xtreme Movie Show.
Yeah.
Not a first watch for me. Was this a first watch for you?
Second watch for me. And there's actually another character in here that actually popped up in Bosch Legacy, or even was in Bosch. If you watch that, you know, he is Crate and Barrel. And his name's Gregory Scott Cummins.
Is that right?
Yes.
And I just finished season 3 of Bosch. I've been slowly working my way through that.
So Crate's in this. If you recognize the two army guys that get put in crates and killed. I never put 2 and 2 together after watching Bosch, and then I watched this again. I'm like, holy crap, that's that guy. So yeah, I wonder if that's how they got the name Crate. If it's just a mad coincidence, but Brian Bosworth, man.
What do you know about Brian Bosworth? Give it to me, because there's definitely background.
All I know is he's an ex-football player, and I don't know what team he played on. Don't really care. Guy's got a good physique. He pretty much, is the Dolph Lundgren light in this, as far as this movie goes, because this is a solid movie. But you're right. This is where the cutoff. This is a box office flop. It was made for $25 million, only got in $9 million, and honestly, for 1991, it was so cool to see some of the limited technology they were using in here. You had to go use a payphone. You went to a diner. The
boobs.
I mean, boobs, yes.
The denim.
Oh my gosh, the denim, the ear, the one ear. Which don't get me started on that. Guys wearing earrings, but the biker stuff, the whole Riley stuff. Honestly, this was well thought out, well planned, well written. People say the reason that this movie didn't do so well because Brian Bosworth is kind of a dud, and I disagree.
I will comment on Brian Bosworth as people start falling into the chat room for Stone Cold 1991. If this came out a couple years earlier, it might have been a bigger hit. Here's the thing with Brian Bosworth. Growing up here in Central Florida, I mean, as a kid, you only got so many channels. You either were a Dolphins fan or a Bucks fan. And I'm an 80s guy. You're more like the 90s aughts guy, or probably the 90s guy. And Professor Pixel, the young choice, something is the aughts, right?
Yeah.
So here, you pretty much picked the Dolphins or the Bucks. I thought the Bucks had a cooler helmet. Saw more of their games on TV. They had a guy named Steve Spurrier with them. Yep. I watched the Bucks and went through all of them losing. But nationally speaking, you'd only get that fucking team from the Midwest that nobody likes, Notre Dame, because they had that stupid contract, right? So you saw them. Everybody hated Notre Dame. I was a Florida guy. People be Florida State. There was definitely Miami fans, but the biggest fans outside of that around here were not Crimson Tide fans like there seems to be so many of them. It was Boomer Sooner, and of course I'm talking about Brian Bosworth. He played as a linebacker, so he's a legit like 6'2", 240, 250. And here's the thing that people weren't ready for. This has everything right or wrong about what we wanted out of male role models, and I think this is one reason why it bombed, because I agree with you. Good-looking guy, pretty. That mullet was no joke. That's what he was known for, really radical hairstyles. By all accounts, he's actually a somewhat decent human being off of movies and in real life. I thought he has a natural charisma. Riz, as people like to say, today's, acumen. This movie's not bad with William Forsythe and Henriksen, but the problem that's missing is it's like they almost tried to rib the audience and pull one over on us by having them as a guy that wore the really cute underwear, overdoing the earrings, which even though he wore them and people did, that wasn't what we would consider masculine at that time. It was more cutting edge because people like Johnny Depp, all soaking wet, 120 pounds of them would do. You got Brian fucking Bosworth. You want to see him kick ass. You feel like he's got a temperament for it. Why gay him up or pretty him up, whatever you want to call it. And a lot of people had issue with that with the movie. I'm not saying I did, because I think I think it was a good debut for him.
It's a clean cut. Obviously, guys, he's got a good physique. It's basically if Arnold did it, they didn't care in Commando because Commando was so over the top. He did the same thing. You saw Arnold getting off the boat, raft, and he's in his Speedo.
Yep.
This people didn't like it because he wasn't known as an actor. I just like as a proving grounds, I guess. But yeah, what's crazy about this is that they then 2 years later, the same damn movie gets made again with Charlie Sheen, and people loved it more. Beyond the Law, same damn thing, going undercover, going after biking. But what that movie didn't have was Lance Henriksen as Chains.
I have an impression of Lance Henriksen, even though I love him from the TV show Millennium, and I always want to review that here on Xtreme Movie Show.
Yeah.
I'd like to do it for you, though, and you can tell me if it's accurate, because I don't like to show off my hidden talents. But may I please do Lance Henriksen from this movie, Stone Cold?
Sure.
All right, here we go. You ready?
Sure.
That's all he did the whole movie, and he was perfect at it. Lance Henriksen always brings the goods. He's got a certain kind of quiet intensity about him. I loved him in this movie. And Forsythe, the guy didn't like him at all. He is so good. He chews up the scenery.
Yep.
This benefited from having these guys in them, definitely.
And with these movies, I feel that's why we got what was that show called with all the bikers? I know the one's called The Mines. What's the one that I'm thinking of? Trying to think of.
You're not thinking of Lorenzo Lamas.
No, not Renegade.
In his DVDs.
I'm talking about the huge biker show that recently ended about 6 years ago. And had Charlie.
That one. I didn't bother watching it. I know.
But like movies like this, where cops going under and all that stuff, and just with bikers, it's always been there. It's just been one of those like niche things that we have.
And it never goes away. It's always there.
Yeah. So, like I said, they tried to do this movie again 2 years later with Charlie Sheen, and because Charlie Sheen, he's a pretty boy, they kind of went. They're like, "Oh, let's watch this," and it got a slightly higher rating on IMDb, which I think is bullshit, because this movie was great. You had a guy literally, you had a bike, you're chasing, especially when Warren Forsythe finds out that Bosworth is a cop, so they're racing. The cop's chasing him. He's firing the machine gun. They're going to the tunnels,
right?
And then he basically his bike gets exploded, and he's laying there. And then what do they do? The Chains, basically, Lance Henriksen, they have a Viking like a Viking funeral for him. They have him on his motorcycle. He's on this, basically, all these sticks and stuff, and then they throw gas at him, and after he puts a cigar in his mouth, and he's still got the sunglasses off, and they light him on fire, and they shoot their guns off. Literally, this movie was basically like, let's make a movie about the Hells Angels. And and just try to basically, we're going to have a good guy go undercover, it starts off like Cobra.
I was just going to say, this is a complete Cobra ripoff, and we don't mind.
No, I don't mind it.
Introduce the character, yep.
And man, I guess to say they hated Tostitos in this movie, or Cheez-Its and all stuff, because the one guy just shoots it in the beginning and just and I like it. He basically takes out 3 guys without even have to fire a single shot in the grocery store, But that's not the only thing. There's a guy, forget what his name is. Tool, I think it's Tool. Bosworth's character and the old lady, or Lance Henriksen's old lady, who he kind of falls for in this movie, Nancy, like that. There
were a lot of Nancy's were the Karens back in the 80s.
I know they were. That was. And speaking of her character, she was decent looking, but she turns out to be the cliche misguided teen, ran away, fell in love, fell with the Brotherhood, And anyway, so Bosworth, the Tool are sent with the Tool ladies to basically go collect money from the prostitutions. A lot of nudity in this movie, more than I remember it, because I remember I think the last time I watched this was probably in the 90s, late 90s, the early 2000s, and I was like, dang, this movie is there's so much I just could not remember about this movie what I thought I did. The Mandela effect with Nancy. I always thought that Nancy gets out alive at the end of this movie. No, she gets shot in the freaking head after narking on Brian Bother's character, and he just boom. He just kills her. I was just he straps a bomb to him. He's like, you're going to go in the helicopter. Because the great thing about Lance Henriksen, he always plays the same character. That's not that's not a fault. No, I feel like the same in Near Dark. It's the same damn character that he plays in this.
It would be until the TV show Millennium, which to me is much better than the X-Files.
And I like the fact that he changed. Is crazy. He thinks of himself as a savior, as a Christ figure. In it, and They got the Nazi flags in the background. I mean, Hollywood's really painting this to be like, yeah, these are the Ku Klux Klan biker guys, Hells Angels. You know, they don't like anybody. They even off a Mexican here too. Okay, he kills him. He's like, I mean, they are just like, and the other thing too, you did not see the only black character in this film is the FBI agent. I noticed that too. It was like
yeah. Let me throw in a few observations here for at the time, because again, you know, I mentioned here at the beginning that for Father's Day we say we're going to review a Father's Day movie, and we always like to joke about the best one being Commando with Arnold, and we talk about stuff, try to find a new way to discuss it, because there's not necessarily a lot of wholesome stuff out there or father positive movies. And the reason why I say that with a serious tone is I like to say that that's the movie from 1985 that we go, when you start looking at movies after that, and you and I don't know if disagree is the right word, but I think we bring a different approach to thinking about movies, because I am from the Yngwie Malmsteen school of music, where more is more, less is not more, because it can't be, right? So if you're like a B.B. King blues kind of guy, you just it's all about the phrasing in between the notes and all that stuff people like to say. And then there's the people that are shredders, that are mindless. You had a similar thing going on with action movies that you did in music, where you had the big hair bands that came out of like rock. Then they amped up the bigger the hairstyles, the more women they got, the more albums they sold, the bigger their concert tours were. Even Journey started off as a jazz band until they got that guy, and then they became a pop guy. So there was an element in the 80s of people going, you know what? These people are sellouts. Fuck them. We're going to go with the hardcore up-and-coming stuff that didn't get a lot of push, like a Megadeth, like a Metallica, which back then Metallica was almost hard.
Yeah.
And so you had this in movies, because I'm looking at this going, this is a movie where they threw in some stuff, like not just with him trying to give him, instead of giving him a dog, which everybody loved, especially if it was a badass kind of Southern type dog, not some bullshit friggin' lizard.
No.
They put resources into this film, but then you give him the really dopey guy, you know, that's supposed to be the FBI agent. They give him the other one, and I'm like, are you trying to rip off Die Hard 2 in addition to Cobra? Come on, at least put a little don't be so cute about it, because at this time, as mentioned here in chat, Double Impact, JCVD, put out 2 decent movies. They were starting to get better. He'd blow up until after Time Cop, when his cocaine got the best of him. Stallone was changing a little bit of what he was doing. He would go to more of the sophisticated stuff in the 90s. There's this radical shift going on in pop culture, where going over the top, everyone tried to outdo themselves. And so it's like I've told you before with wrestling, if you have somebody pop out of 40 different finishing moves, how the hell can you beat the guy? It means less. And I felt there's an element of that here that they thought would be cool. But by this point, I think people were still in the need of, whether we say it was Jeff Speakman, and I know you're not the fan of him, even though I liked his first couple movies. When we talk about Steven Seagal, those first couple movies were great. William Forsythe in that as well. People would still have accepted Brian Bosworth as an okay guy, even though I thought he did good in here, if they treated it a bit more seriously rather than some of these yuck it up stuff in here. Look, there's a scene in here where he makes contact. You have your meeting in the band with you got the live band playing with the strippers. You got all this typical biker stuff. Okay, that's cool. When he goes to the biker compound, I thought, fuck, this is what's missing from movies. This is so 80s. He's driving in. So you get establishing shots of the compound. And it was filmed on location, too, which is absolutely beautiful, especially, you know, the whole golf stuff they've got. You've got the chicks that are out there. Well, you're not necessarily going to have running water in all the places or electricity because they're in some old rundown facility. So you got the naked chicks just taking showers as he's driving by. They don't focus on the woman, but they're there, and you can definitely get shots of it. You feel like they're doing everything right in this movie. And I'm not saying it's a bad movie, but I just go, man, I wish this movie came out years earlier. Brian Bosworth was known when he played football. I will tell you this. Dan Marino is considered by many to be one of the best quarterbacks of all time. Quickest release, to me, he's probably the best. And I'll argue that right now with everybody. And I'm not a Dolphins guy. But Brian Bosworth was known that when the games were big, he played even bigger. That's very rare. When it was time for somebody to step up, he stepped up, known for it. And it's a shame because he had so much potential in here, and I don't ever think it got actualized because everybody shit on him. They were looking for reasons to make fun of Brian Bosworth, and I think he got an unfair treatment here. It's the same thing with Winger getting ridiculed by Beavis and Butthead. That killed Winger, really, and they're a phenomenal band. So it's interesting how these things happen in some of the different areas of pop culture. That's my biggest rant about Stone Cold. Let's talk about some stuff that's fun with it.
No, so I'm looking up the director and stuff for this movie. Craig Baxley. He's responsible for the A-Team series.
Yep. He knows how to shoot. This is a good looking film.
Second unit director for Predator.
Yep.
Another Arnold movie. So you kind of see some of He's used to working with guys, as far as Arnold Schwarzenegger, So Reds, the Long Riders, the Warriors, yeah. So Action Jackson was another one he worked on. And
Loved Action Jackson. That's so much fun.
He was a director for that. So, and also for Dark Angel, which came out in 1990, year before this. But so you mean you had a guy who actually knew how to direct? The writer was actually Walter Doniger, who died in 2011. He wrote Duffy of San Quentin, a lot of early movies like Rope of Sand, which was 1949. So nothing really big though that I could see here. He was mainly a TV series writer and director. Wait, let's see here. Let's look here. So before this, he wrote Kentucky Woman, which is 1983, and some Barnaby Jones. Hold on. I hate freaking IMDb. It keeps freaking throwing me up into the director stuff. But anyway, the writing wasn't the best on this. I admit that, and I will die on this film saying Brian Bosworth was not the reason why this movie was not that great.
I think we agree on that, right?
Yeah. There's no.
What did you like about Brian Bosworth in this film?
Brian Bosworth, he's I admit he had still the pretty boy look, but he had the physical as far as the intimidation. He was still kind of mean, when he wanted to be, but he's also kind of not nice. I guess he doesn't have the resting bitch face like Stallone does for Cobra. I mean, that could be his downfall, but he was like a Lex Luger type going into this movie. That's what I kept thinking of when I watched wrestling back in the day. So I'm like, this guy's kind of like a Lex Luger, and this guy had the height, the build.
Yeah.
I mean, you had Action Jackson.
He had it there.
I mean, I guess if you're not a fan of Action Jackson, you're probably not gonna be a fan of this movie. And so I don't know. To me, I think most people probably wanted somebody, like Stallone or somebody, more intimidating, to be the big guy, the thing. He did come off too kind. He's in a bike. He's undercover, he's a biker, but he was kind of kind, especially when he was with Nancy, the way he held her. Like, I guess maybe the villain need to be more. Lance Henriksen need to be more of a villain. William Forsythe, but I don't know. It's just I thought this was a decent movie, and I still stand by it. I don't understand why people don't like it. But I guess it's Brian Bosworth. They're saying maybe they're saying that he was too much of a pretty boy. I mean, it was the 90s though. He's undercover cop. He's from Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
He's his first job because he's a prospect. He has to go and he has to kill this guy. Basically, was selling dope across their line. So he goes there and he goes to the club and he's got the suit. He got the tucked up, nice shirt, black shirt and stuff.
Yep.
And you get a first sense of how tall this guy is, especially, now that he's against someone who's shorter, knocks the guy out, at the bar, carries him off, and then, because basically he's supposed to kill this guy. So is the FBI feds relocate him and they basically get a cadaver's ear and tattoo it. They make it look like, in the earring, make it look like he killed him.
That was kind of cool, right?
I like
the idea of them doing that, right? He wasn't going to kill the guy outright.
And I love it. Makes him because then Lance and Henriksen gets the ear and he sniffs it. And he's like, look at that. And he's like, he's waving for the girl's face. It's like, and so at this point they think he killed him. But what I really liked about this, which helped him really prove that he was a badass for me, was him going against the one-winged angel himself, Kenny Omega. That
guy looks like Kenny Omega. Holy crap! I was thinking that too. This guy's super jacked, and of course, he has to prove himself by beating their top fighter to get in with the guy, and he just has to. He's going to win.
Right. I was looking up to see what his name was before. He's like,
he was too lean. He was a bodybuilder. I'm thinking.
Probably most likely though. But I thought it was like, dang it! Like basically they go to like Sturgis for them. Bikers, the William Forsythe and the other guy are shooting beer cans off their shoulders. The one guy keeps missing for William Forsythe. So he's like, put him ahead. He leans back and he finally shoots it. So then William Forsythe is like, all right, he's like, it's my turn. The guy puts the beer can on there, and then he's like, he pulls out a little Uzi.
That little hand Uzi.
The guy's like, oh shit! He knocks it up, blows up the car behind him. They're all laughing. He doesn't like, because he's the second man. He doesn't trust this guy. This kid came out of nowhere. And honestly, William Forsythe's character was fun in this too. I said, like, he was a smarter guy. He was the one that should have been charged, but somehow, for other reasons, Lance Henriksen was in charge.
The reason why is because Lance Henriksen's character had a higher emotional IQ. And that's matters in interpersonal dynamics. And so the reason why I'm being kind of a smug bastard talking about that is one of the things that works for this movie is not just Brian Bosworth when he's being physical. Because you're right. I think the writing could have portrayed him maybe a little bit different way. We didn't have to have all these dimensions to him. You show him in that stupid underwear. And okay, that's great for the guys and girls, I guess, if you're into that sort of thing. But there's a different, show him being physical and kicking ass. If you want him to be a tough guy, you want to take him seriously. Don't show him being metrosexual, because that was not in at that point. Smaller people and metrosexual and vampires and denim and black and crap would be a thing, obviously, coming forward. But for God's sakes, I mean, work to the guy's strengths, right? But the thing is when they showed the establishing shots of the biker gang, okay, they're drug runners. We've seen that before, right? Okay, they want to put a hit out on DA because he wants to come down on Harden to get elected. Okay, we don't give a shit about the smiling DA. But it works here in the southern part because, biker gangs are gangs. What do gangs have? They have a hierarchy, right? So you know what the hierarchy is here. But you also have a lot of people that are there that follow the leader, right? And that's why I say I liked a lot of establishing scenes, because you're not going, oh my God, this is a serious gang. They're going to go out to murder somebody. They're despicable, evil human beings. You're going, yeah, they're probably dregs of society, wherever there's a little humanity into them. But when they're all getting together, yucking it up and all that, it's just like if you went to the Redneck Riviera, North Florida, and you went there on the beach, you saw a biker gang. They're hanging out with each other, doing shit that they're doing, they're partying, they're drinking. It's like that anywhere you go, a frat house, this, that. It doesn't really matter. And it was fun watching that. So to me, it shouldn't have been a serious movie. But when you dumb down Brian Bosworth's character a little bit and metrosexualize him going up against the biker gang, you're not doing yourselves any favor. But you're right. Forsythe, to me, if you remember from the remake of Halloween, where he's like, I'm all broke up here, bitch, at the table. This guy could deliver the goods. Lance Henriksen, we talk about him a lot, even though we haven't reviewed a lot of his stuff here. Pumpkinhead, I think, was the last. We will, absolutely. Alien and all that. He's such a great character. This movie, I'm telling you, a part of the hate, I got to go on record with this, with Brian Bosworth, is you got ESPN that's owned by Disney now. They have their own agenda for the way they want to talk about things. They're going to push certain players, right? They're going to push the clickbait stuff for interactions. They're not really going to talk about the game or the sport like it would. It's this current stuff that's going on now in the WNBA with Caitlin Clark and everything else there too. People don't want to come out and directly talk about why things are the way they are. Right. Back then, Brian Bosworth, I mean, he had a certain kind of role, but he was the guy that everybody fallen to shit on. And there was also one other reason too I didn't bring up. There was another player, I believe it was Barry Sanders, running back, one of the better running backs of all time, plowed the fuck out of him, and everyone went, oh, look, he got fucked up, blah, 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 blah. Bosworth went to the NFL. He retired after a couple years. He had bad shoulders and this and that too. He was a stud. Tim Tebow's a religious guy. If you're a fan of the Gators, you know who Tim Tebow is.
Yes.
A lot of people hated the religion thing. Personally, professionally, some people loved it. Some people realized he was going to have a very difficult time making it in the pros, but they followed his story and this, that. Tim's living his best life doing his thing. Brian Bosworth had kind of almost a similar arc if you take the religion part of it, in that he rose to the occasion. People wanted to see it. He was a stud that way. So there was a lot of hatred by the time this movie came out. Oh, it's Brian Bosworth. Is this what it's come to? We're going to have nobody's try to be in action. So all the people out there shit on him just to shit on him. And that's one of the things in the 80s we talked about. Some people say this is great. Some people say it's bad. Screw that. We're going to review it. We're going to tell you what we like and don't like.
So I think Brian Bosworth probably should have did some other movies before where he's kind of like the goon, like the henchman for his height, like a bouncer or something like that. Because the way his acting comes off is pretty much like Patrick Swayze in Roadhouse.
Yeah.
Literally.
I love Patrick Swayze. Roadhouse was nice and fun, wasn't it?
Next to Kin.
Like that in the biker version in a way.
Next to Kin is a movie I think of when I think of this movie, because I think it's the same thing. You got a guy, he's going around and the cops don't like him, and he's basically doing what he needs to be done. Wasn't really well received, but he's not even. It's not even his problem in this movie. It's basically the way they wrote Nancy, Arabella Holzbog, who is really hot in this movie. She should not have been a good innocent girl. She should have been a conniving, the
second plot, not the good girl bullshit. No way.
No. And Because there's a scene there where he first meets after he basically beat up Kenny Omega in the mud pit there. He goes back to his van and Lance Henriksen sitting in there with Arabella there. Yeah, Nancy's in there too. He's like, get your shit on, get out of there, get your limit. He's like, no, Nancy's gonna see she's my old lady is a present to you. And when he turns down sex from her, that should have been pissing off Lance Henriksen.
Exactly.
And that's where the movie for me was like, what the fuck are you doing? It's like, this is a perfect, because now I don't trust you. You're not going to sleep with my girl. You're a good guy. Why would I believe you killed this guy then? If you're too good, the morals with a girl.
Yeah. Because
that's why he liked having William Forsythe around. Because William Forsythe is a killer. He knows he can get it done. But he also knows that he's a guy that'll go after his own spot if he's not too careful. This guy was the pretty boy, comes along, tall guy. I would have been like, oh, you killed this guy? You got here's an ear? Okay, all right. But I'd still fucking watch you. He runs the fort. He calls up his other little lady who works at the cop shop county, and has her run a background check. Okay, but it takes forever for the whole entire movie for her to get back to him. Be like, oh yeah, and then who answered the phone? It's Nancy, because Nancy at this point was gonna run away because she wants to get out of the Brotherhood. She's done with it because after she sees the two guards, the milk green guys, get killed in crates, she's had enough. I'm like, she did not know that he was going around killing people. Like, she didn't Lance. His name's Chains. He's a sick son of a bitch. You think he's not just killing people? How naive she is, And I was just like, it just ruined it for me for that part. But like I said, like there were so other things that was wrong with this movie, but Brian Bosworth acting, I still say, was perfectly fine.
I agree.
Because there are people, I'm sure there are people who don't like Roadhouse, and those are the people I don't hang out with because they're animals. Roadhouse.
Well, here's the thing: the '80s themes were going away. We're talking about canon film in general.
Well, yeah.
We had Ninja 3. We had a really great helicopter thing. We had Blue Thunder with Roy Schreider in there. We had Firefox about stealing a plane. God damn it, we loved our planes in the 80s because it was a sign of success, and helicopters are no exception here. And we got a great helicopter scene here. They didn't skimp in here and all go shitty. They had some cool stuff.
And holy crap, when you see Lance Henriksen, he's going to go kill this new senator or DA guy. He doesn't like him. He's got to go to the courthouse because one of the guys who goes going around killing like priests, killed this main guy that they sent off, the Mr. Clean guy who worked for them, killed the priest. You see the priest get blown away, and while he's baptizing, he gets shot, goes through the glass stained window, and see a judge blows up, gets killed, and so this guy took the fall. And now he's going to be on trial. They're going to give him his DA. He's like, I'm going to send an example to the Brotherhood. This is what we don't. They're basically going to try to give the guy the electric chair, the death penalty, whatever. And Lance Henriksen's whole thing was like, well, we're going to get enough money, and then we're going to go to freaking like the Capitol. We're going to go bust them out of the courthouse and and just like have motorcycles coming out of trucks going and driving around inside the courthouse. Is this over the top great? But the great thing is that Lance Henriksen cuts off his hair, his long hair, clean shaves, and he's just in a priest uniform, and he looks hot. I'm just gonna say, no homo, but I mean, like, he's Lance Henriksen when he clean shaves like that, he is the perfect kind of killer. He's kind of like that Robert Patrick, the T-1000 in Terminator 2. He's got the clean shave, but he's gonna kill you. And I love that because Lance Henriksen's character, when he does that grin, the smile and stuff, he's got that creepy little look he does.
He's believable.
Oh, he's believable. And the way he acts, he just, it's just like, I'm sure he's a real nice guy outside of this, but he's just always been one of those faces. Is like, he's believable. He could be a freaking psychopath murderer and no one would even know because like he's a damn good actor. But like I said,
we joked about Father's Day Commando and this ludicrous ending. This ending's pretty ludicrous like that too.
Yeah,
but, it's not a bad ending, and it delivers what it needs. And
with the trope where they think the bad guy's done, and the bad guy's not done. And I love that scene where the camera roll where he gets shot and he falls over the balcony. And you see his point of view, and then you see it go, and then you don't hear him drop, but being. Yeah, it was. And who kills him is the cop you don't like, the FBI agent. He's kind of a doofus.
If people knew that pretty much after this movie, you were going to get like 150-pound vampires. We were going to make all these serial killer things, Silence of the Lambs and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Cute and root for the bad guy, not have any good guy to root for. It's kind of like something's lost there. And one big thing that was going on here at the time too, especially with O.J. Simpson starting to show up in the Naked Gun movies from the Police Squad TV show with Leslie Nielsen, and he did a great job in that. Of course, a lot of things were going urban at the time. Hip hop was becoming really, really big, and rap, and East Coast, West Coast, Southern. There's stuff down here in Florida, but there's always a spot for biker gangs. There's always a spot for rednecks. Whatever terms you want to use, and by today's words, those niche things can make for entertaining film. And even if it's the same kind of diluted story we're used to seeing, who gives a shit as long as you're having fun? And this movie, like I said, it got shit on when it was made. It got shit on when it came out. People love to shit on Brian Bosworth. There's likable things in here, but I'm telling you, there's much less movies in the 90s to talk about that are fun, because they all of a sudden turn into like government movies. We had all the lawyer movies. We had all the submarine movies. We had all this like government shit, and like, that's the thing that changed from the 80s to 90s. It's almost as if the CIA was in charge of Hollywood and said, hey, make us look good in the 80s, or make it set back in Washington, D.C., instead of, God forbid, somebody taking liberty on their own and doing things the right way, like this rogue cop. I mean, come on. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So Brian Bosworth would go on to make, he wouldn't do another movie until 1996. Yeah. And that's the movie I saw first, was One Man's Justice, where his wife and daughter get killed.
I've not seen any other Brian Bosworth movies except this one.
It is great. Bruce's Payne's in there. Jeff Kober, Neil McDonough, MC Hammer is in there too as well. MC Gainey, he's another character. I think he was on Sons of Anarchy. He might have been played Tiggs. Yep. But I mean, yeah, it's a 5.3 out of 10. But man, it was just fun. This guy kills him, and the guy who kills his family and wife is under federal protection, so he can't kill him. So he wants out revenge. He wants to kill him. It is just fun. I love these low budget, stuff. And like I said, these are the two movies that I always remember from the 90s watching. I was like, oh, it's so cold. Like, what the hell is this? And it's like, then I watched One Man's Justice. I was like, dude, like, these are just so underrated as far as movies. So I'm game for One Man's Justice if you want to do that sometime. But I love these early 90s movies. Drugs, sex, murder. This gang was game for anything, but until they made a cop, we'll stop at nothing. We didn't even mention the fact that he has a Komodo dragon.
I briefly mentioned it because I thought it was fucking stupid.
It was kind of dumb, him, kissing the thing is like, because first, what was really stupid? If we wouldn't have had the Komodo dragon, and you see him do the blender, and he's just putting stuff in there. He puts the orange.
I was offended by that until they showed it to him, because I thought, okay, they're making him like this, and even the hot chicken bed doesn't make up for that lack of a protein smoothie.
That smoothie though.
But it was for the Komodo dragon.
I know.
That's not funny at all.
But let me get through it though.
I'm a guy that will drink
let
smoothies.
me explain it. They're the smoothie puts in there. He's got the orange juice. He's got the Twix bars. Then he puts the egg in there, and he puts the shell in there too. And I'm like, to me, it would have been a lot better if you actually would have drank it after putting the hot sauce and everything. Because I was like, oh, that's kind of nasty. Obviously, it doesn't serve for your health nuts. You're like, oh, that doesn't serve any purpose whatsoever. For me as a normie, I don't give a shit about that. I think it's fucking disgusting, But like, the people who drink raw eggs in a blender and stuff, to me, it's become so Hollywood cliche. Whether it has any healthy benefit for you whatsoever, I don't know. I don't care.
6 grams of protein per medium egg, sir. The shells are a trove of vitamin C.
It's cool, man. It's like,
I won't do it.
If you're a fitness guy, you don't watch movies and they do with fitness stuff in there stuff, because you're gonna find, like, that's fake. That's fake. Just like if you're a firefighter, oh, that's real. It's like, so I go into this as a complete, like, kind of like normie. Like, I don't have any clue about some of this stuff, and I love that when I see like the blending scene. I was like, this is just disgusting.
I love food and films. I don't love films that are about food, but I love people eating and food in films. I love it. I don't know why.
The scissors eating the pizza in Cobra.
I pop for that so hard. I don't know why.
He's got the scissors. He takes the pizza box, and there is his machine gun, his Uzi, and he's putting it together. So he's cleaning it, and he's watching the little tube TV. And it's like, I love that stuff.
Final thoughts.
Final thoughts. big guns, big guys,
big boobs, big
yes.
volume, big amount of them.
Well, big amount of boobs, not big boobs, but lots of topless girls in here too. So if you are a horny teenager, yeah.
And they're getting smoother too. We're starting to see less body hair.
Yeah, and if you are the ladies, you get to see Brian Bosworth and
guys might like that too. I'm just saying we don't just pointed it out there.
I discriminate, ladies. I have no chill. But yeah, early '90s, man. So you're going here and
so you recommend it? And you say he's worth.
I recommend it. It's on Pluto. You can watch. Pluto has TV, has it for free with commercials, but it's the Riff Tracks version. I did not watch that version, but I was like, this.
I would say I was surprised this was hard to find, but there is an HD 1080p version free on YouTube. I believe that's where you saw it as well.
I did not. I watched it on 1-2-3 movies.
Allegedly.
But I own this on DVD. It's in one of my totes upstairs. I have numerous DVDs collection.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
Brian Bosworth came around the right time for that secondary career, the DVD VHS market. So I'll close with this. I think we both agree it's a solid film for what it is. It was a lot of fun watching it at a midnight movie. I remember that, and so I haven't seen it in the 40 years, wherever it's been out, 30 years. I'll say this: we didn't talk much about the mullet, which is legitimate his thing. He was crazy with that stuff, and that's definitely a Southern thing. And there's still people around that have mullets today that I see down here in Florida. And I'm not saying it's a Florida thing, but it's a Southern thing. And I know it's a thing, period. But I've been struck because I'm like, we would see people like from professional wrestling, particularly Hulk Hogan, try to cross over in his own way with Thunder in Paradise and all the stupid shit film down here at Disney. And I thought, what's the difference between the mullet that Brian Bosworth has in Stone Cold, which is the defining mullet of the 80s, by the way. No rat tail on this guy, or at least I don't think he had one.
Wow.
But Hulk Hogan's mullet was really what we would call, and this is important that people know this. This is why we have these tidbits of information. This is what makes us extreme. Do you know what that kind of one is where he's completely bald, but it's around his head, but he grows long? You know what that is referred to, RDV?
Friar Tuck.
You could say, or Village Idiot, if there's a little bit on top, but no. Down here in the South, we call that a skullet. There you go, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. No, his mullet here, Brian Bosworth, is like Brutus the Barber Beefcake. The way he's got it set up. But anyway, real quick little information I was reading up on Wikipedia. You guys can look it up too if you want to. But since you guys are here, Michael Douglas, it says, served as an uncredited producer, which kept Bosworth from leaving the film. And then, did not know that. But also, Henriksen changed a lot of his dialogue because he didn't want to talk Bible quotes the whole entire time. Which
interesting. I
don't know if that makes it better or worse. Because I kind of like Henriksen can pull up anything he talks about. He's got this long, that slow, kind of like little, like, quiet, like, delivery. It's just like, and he starts quoting stuff. It's just like, and then he starts getting more enraged, enthusiasm, and he just starts getting louder and louder. And it's like, Lottie fucking die. Like literally. That's why I love his delivery and his lines. No matter whether it's man's best friend.
A tremendous movie.
or it's Stone Cold, or it's he's a scene stealer. And I said that ending, they had to change it because originally the place where they're going to do it had no idea this is the state, so they then move it to officials at Arkansas State's capital apparently don't know about the stunts to be done during the filming, which involved motorcycle getting launched through a helicopter. Yes, that happened. It's great. But so that's it, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and if you haven't checked it out, you can go find this. Probably like you go to your thrift stores, maybe you might have it, or any place that sells older movies. I like sometimes record stores. Don't think Walmart will have it, but then again, Walmart is coming out with steel cases and all stuff. So I don't know if this will be included, but I would say go on Blu-ray.com. That's what I'd say, or Amazon. No print on demand.
It's also, I think, on the Internet Archive as well, but only the 720p version, if I recall correctly. So depending on your access internet-wise to whatever region you're in, you may find it there as well. That's been a bit of a treasure trove. This is not currently on Tubi or Pluto or any of those. So.
No. Pluto Rift Track version, if you want the Mystery Science Theater.
Don't need it. Don't need it. All right, good night, everybody. Good night now. Stay extreme.
And remember, leave a comment down below. Let us know what you want us to review next. Later. taking forever now.
It was laggy earlier with Pixel and Columbo. Still running here.
I don't know. It's still going. Having trouble connecting. Please check your internet connection. We can't end. It says we're ended though, right? No, we're still going.
You are listening live to the post-game show here on the Xtreme Movie Show.
As we wait for
Tune here to the Pine Hills Channel WROB. I've got the radio signal coming out of the Xtreme Studios. So we're going to go a little bit light jazz here this evening. Here we're going to go a little bossa nova Brazilian style here on the Xtreme Jazz Station.
No.
Will you turn this fucking thing off?
I'm waiting for it to go off. It won't go.
Can I turn it off?
Well, you can turn the channel off. I don't know if you can go through YouTube. Because right now it's streaming through the thing, but it won't let me end it. I'm not kidding.
I see it running. We're at the 41-minute mark.
I don't know why it won't stop.
Post game, riff tracks. That was originally my idea. I told you this, RDV. I've said so many ideas have gotten stolen out there before, and that's fine because we'll find out when we get older there's only variations of a theme of what people can do. Yeah, we could easily go on and say, the 5 things you must know about Stone Cold with Brian Bosworth. Who gives a shit? Or, I watched Stone Cold and then this happened. Everybody's a friggin' copycat, and that's a bunch of crap, so we don't do that here. That's why it was insulting to hear that someone like Brian Bosworth got shit on. It's like, you guys made sure it was going to be successful. But did he not, bang the right directors before he became famous? I mean, come on. And for those that are still listening,
yeah,
check out Columbo. We just